Hello and welcome to the Refs Need Love To podcast, the show that gets real, raw, and behind the scenes with the hardest job on the pitch, the referee. I'm your host, David Gerson, a grassroots referee with over 10 years of experience and 1,200 matches under my belt. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and now even on YouTube, where I am posting videos of these full podcasts that you can watch or listen to, if that's what you're into. This week, we are going to cover some untold truth about being a referee, and then hit the mailbag for a phenomenally written letter. Okay, first let's talk about untold truths of a referee. We get nervous too, okay? I'm actually going to be traveling for business next week, and then there's a little bit of pleasure at the end of it up in New York City, and I was like, hey, I'm free all day Saturday, maybe I'll ref some matches up there. I had been talking with the state referee administrators in Eastern New York for a while, and they've assigned me a few matches, and now I'm going to be reffing some U16 to U19 matches up in New York City. And I got to tell you, all excited about the idea, but as soon as you see the assignments come out, then you start getting nervous, right? Okay, I'm not familiar with New York City. I haven't ref games up there. What kind of level is it going to be? What's the competition level like? How much contact do they like to see? Are the parents going to be well behaved? Is it going to be a safe environment? Just even at the little bit, the most basic, showing up to the match. This match is on Randall's Island. Now, I grew up in Queens, and Queens is adjacent to Randall's Island, New York City. Randall's Island, if you've never been there, is a little island that is in the East River of New York City. It's in between Manhattan, Bronx, and Queens. And even though I lived there for 22 years of my life, I've never been to Reynolds Island. I had to figure out, like, how am I going to get there? There's a subway, I believe, the number 2 train that goes there, and there's one stop there, and I'll get off it. I'll somehow find my way to the field. It's the very basic thing of, like, how do I even get to the field? That's something you need to think about. How am I going to make sure they're in plenty of time? Is it going to be security there? Do I need to check in with anyone? Again, I'm not going to know my crew. Do they do things differently in New York City? I don't know. But I just think it's so interesting that players might get nervous before a match. Referees get nervous before a match as well. And that's okay. I like to tell people, if you feel nervous before a match, it's just because you've got energy. And the way you should think about that is take that energy and channel it onto the pitch, channel it into your performance to do the best job that you can. It doesn't necessarily mean let it take over you and keep it inside so it feels like your stomach's all nervous or something like that. Okay, try and take that energy or those nerves and channel it into the best performance you can on the pitch. And the ways that I'm going to make sure that I do everything I need to out there is I'm going to do my entire normal warm-up, pre-match, all my pre-match preparation, making sure I'm there early, doing my warm-up, greeting the coaches, having a pregame, inspecting the field, like everything I need to do so that I'm not nervous at these matches. And I hope all is going to go well. But I would just want to say hard truth number 1 is refs get nervous. Hard truth number 2, a foul is like pornography. Okay? It's a famous quote here. You don't know it until you see it. Because when you look in the laws of the game, they don't tell you exactly what a foul is. Oh, if someone touches someone here or pushes someone here or makes contact with their leg here or something of that nature, or the hand's got to be in exactly this position to be a handball. Okay, you don't know. Okay, you only can use your judgment based on the laws of the game, which are guidelines. We read these things: careless, reckless, excessive force. Now, mind you, there are some considerations for excessive force that are a bit more descriptive, certainly not exact. There's a lot of argument about that. Someone could have their hands on someone's back, and even there could be a little bit of a push, and it's no big deal, right? Not a foul. Let's play on. But someone could have 2 hands in someone's back, and they give a shove while someone's jumping in the air, maybe not that much force, but it knocks them off balance, and they can't loft it up the field to them. Okay, foul. And so, that's a hard truth. People don't understand that. Oh, that's never a foul. It's like, well, yeah, sometimes that's a foul, or that's a foul. It's like, well, not based on what I'm seeing here and what I consider, to be to foul or not, So I think it's just one of the things that's such a interesting, hard truth that there is no exact definition for a foul. It just takes lots of time and lots of experience to know how and when to call it. I think that's something that U10 parents of these 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds and the 8-year-olds who are out there playing, or 12-year-olds, and they have inexperienced referees working their matches, and they're like, oh, that should have been a yellow card. I got to tell you, my first couple years of matches where I was doing U10, U12, maybe even U14 recreational games, I don't remember giving out a lot of yellow cards. Maybe I should have, but it took time to recognize it. I don't think I gave out a single red card until I was like 2.5 years in as a referee. And I probably should have beforehand, but it takes time. You've got to see it. You've got to learn to recognize it. You've got to have enough experience under your belt, hundreds of fouls to have occurred, to then start to figure out, oh, that should be a careless foul. Yep, that's a reckless foul. Oh, that is a red card for serious foul play or violent conduct or whatever that is. It takes experience. A foul isn't clearly defined. I think that's one thing. And just to further that one, even professional referees can disagree about fouls. That's right. Referees who are being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if they're a center referee and they've been doing it for a long time, but assistant referees who have been reffing for many years can disagree about calls. I remember watching a video not long ago about our professional MLS referees, and they would talk about the fact that they'd be in a room reviewing plays, and 50% of the referees were like, oh, that's a red card. And the other 50% now, that's just a yellow card. I think this is the challenge. And even on handballs, oh, yeah, that is a foul. Oh, that is not a foul. Or people were like, this commentator on such and such station said it's not a foul. It's okay. They're not the referee on the day. And the referee on the day felt that it was. Okay, even professional referees can disagree about calls. Okay, this is another one. I love this line. I alluded to it earlier, but you can touch another player and it not be a foul, and you can't touch another player, potentially, not even lay your hands on a player, and it is a foul. Okay, that's something people don't understand, that you can potentially obstruct someone or impede someone without contact. You can use your voice and it be a foul, and even a cardable offense if you try and distract a player using your voice. Okay, sometimes some fouls don't require contact, and some contact is perfectly fine. Now, some parents, if it's their child who's being contacted with side-to-side, shoulder-to-shoulder contact, or there's a good sliding challenge on the ball and someone trips over at a high rate of speed, or a goalkeeper goes up for a ball and when there's contact as they're going up for it, it's a foul. They didn't have possession. Other players got right to that ball as well. Sometimes you can have contact and there is no foul. It's just a thing. And I think that can be hard for people. Okay. This one, very controversial, but it's true. And if anyone tries to tell me it's not a thing, okay, you're lying or you haven't reffed at a high enough level yet. Foul counts matter. That's right. I said a foul count. How many fouls are being called against one team? How many fouls are being called against another team? Okay? That's a thing. You could almost call them makeup calls. It's real. And I will tell you, so I have been on a number of crews, either as a fourth official or assistant official, where we're having national referee assessments, or to get to regional assessments, you've got professional assessors, or now coaches, mentors and coaches who are talking to these referees. And sometimes, actually I think every time, they've talked about what's the foul count? How many fouls do you have going for one team? How many fouls do you have going for the other team? It's a thing. That's right. If I have a team that's being beat really bad, yeah, I will give them some really light fouls, okay? Just so that I can keep them in the game, okay? And when I mean in the game, mentally in the game, not get completely frustrated, have an opportunity to have a direct free kick. Just that is part of being a referee, is the feeling of fairness. So yes, sometimes we think about, if one team has 15 fouls and I only have 5 fouls in favor of the other team, I may be a little bit lighter in my considerations for what is a foul and what is a not for the team that only has 4 or 5 fouls in their favor. It's true. It's a thing. And good referees do that. And it helps to make the game feel more fair, and it keeps everyone in the right mindset on the pitch, okay? That is a thing. It's a thing, and good refs know how to do that. I also said something on my Instagram page where some guy was trying to like egg me on, and I could tell it's like a teenager who's never refereed. But I made a comment when someone was asking me about something, or in my video I wrote, this is, for me, not a foul at this age group. It's a clean challenge. And there's not two different sets of rules for other age groups. And I was like, at U17 or U19 or professional men or semi-professional men that I get to referee, what is deemed acceptable contact there may not be deemed as acceptable contact at U10. It's just a thing. Mama don't want to see baby get bumped so hard. Even if they wind up staying on their feet, they get really upset if someone gets knocked down and tripped. So I think there's things that you would call in a U10 match to keep the peace that at U19, those players are perfectly comfortable with and expect the game to be much more physical. Okay. Yes, there's not a different set of laws, but your considerations for what is careless, what is reckless, and what is excessive force may change depending on who you are refereeing. It's a thing. Okay. How about untold truth here? Big one, controversial. Most referees have never read the laws of the game. Okay? I'm just saying it. If we lose 80% of referees within the first 3 years, that's the data that's out there. I didn't read the laws of the game, I think, until, I don't know, maybe I was starting this channel. I don't know. That's a little bit extreme, but probably 5 or 6 years in before I really started referencing the laws of the game, like on a regular basis. I would bet if you are a young referee, and I say young in terms of experience, not age, you could be 40 or 50 years old and just started, that you've never read the laws of the game. Yeah, it's a thing. Yes, it is totally a thing. And listen, I don't blame anyone for that. The laws are dry. They're can be poorly written, and the best thing to do is really get out there and get experience. But you also need to be familiar with the language of the laws of the game so that you can have a conversation with players and coaches. You need to understand considerations for key match decisions. You need to understand some of those calls on some things that are uncommon type of situations as well. People need to read the laws of the game, but very few people do. I would bet less than 2% of coaches has read the laws of the game. I would bet less than 1% of parents. But I'm going to tell you, probably less than 50% of referees have read the laws of the game. And that is my feeling there. Okay. Most referees, it's another hard truth, most referees never get any real training beyond their initial orientation and annual video recertification classes. Yes, no training, none. Now, in some regions, they do an amazing job. Florida in particular, California in particular. I've heard great things about Minnesota as well. Their state referee associations are doing webinars on a monthly basis. They're bringing in top referees, and they seem to have ongoing training that seems to do good work. In my state, and listen, I don't have anything against the people who are working at my state association. I bet they are underpaid, under-resourced. We've had a ton of turnover in my state association, but no training, no mentoring for regular grassroots officials at all. I think in my first 3 or 4 years, we had one gentleman, a wonderful gentleman here in our local community, who might show up to the grassroots field and talk to all of the referees together as a group, like one time in the season, something like that, and just give a couple tips and reminders about holding a flag. But actual training, like proper mentoring, nothing. And that is a fact, at least through the first 3 or 4 years. And then once you get to a certain level and you get recognized, oh, they're an up-and-comer, those people get training. If you're going to be going to state cup, or you're going to be going to regionals, you're one of those refs, you get training, you get developed. But for the 99%, nothing, not at all. Next hard truth. Some referees do it for the money, and that's okay. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with someone wanting to earn money as a job as a referee. My son right now is reffing again because he needs money. He's a college student, wants to earn some money, put it in his bank account. He's going to be traveling this summer. He's going back to school this fall, wants to hang out and feel like he's got some money to spend. He's reffing for the money. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Why shouldn't someone do that? They're taking their time. They're providing a service. Good for them. Now, mind you, we want people to do a good job as a referee. I don't want them to just go out there and do a crappy job and get paid for it. No one wants that. Like, seriously, if you're buying a service from someone or paying someone for a service, you want them to be doing the best they possibly can. Absolutely, absolutely, no doubt. But there's nothing wrong with someone doing it for the money, okay? It's okay. They're not getting paid that much to do it for this money, okay? Yes, we want them to do well, but it's okay to do it for the money too. I know a number of older gentlemen, and they referee. That's their thing as their kind of extra retirement income. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. Good for them. They referee a number of different sports. They have a great time, keeps them active. That is wonderful. Now, on the flip side of that, just because someone is doing it for the money doesn't mean that you can abuse them, okay? Just going to a restaurant does not give you carte blanche to be able to yell at your waitress and criticize how they deliver your food or how the kitchen might prepare food. Yes, you could say, hey, I ordered this, I got this, that's great, totally good. But what we see out there on a weekly basis is people screaming at every single call, personally attacking a referee, threatening to physically attack a referee. That is unacceptable, right? We have to have basic levels of consideration for fellow members of society. Is there anything wrong with doing the money? No, it's a good thing. We want people to come out and do it. I got to tell you, I have so much respect for AYSO and how they get all those volunteers to come out to ref their matches. That's amazing to me. Unbelievable. I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing, and I love that they do. But there's nothing wrong with doing it for the money. Okay, next hard truth. As an assistant referee, I may completely disagree with a center referee's call, but I'm not going to say anything. That's right. As an assistant referee, I may completely disagree with a center referee's call, and I am not going to say a thing. I am going to stand there. I am going to be watching the play with my flag down, and I'm going to support that center referee however needed. If they want my opinion, okay, and I'm happy to give it to them, sure, no problem. If it's a penalty kick decision, and it's in my zone, on my side of the field, less than 10 yards away from me, okay, really close to the edge of the penalty area, I may call the referee over very subtly and just say, hey, what did you see there? Okay, here's what I saw. But it's the center referee's job to make calls. I'm not the center referee on the day. They are the ones with the whistle. It's their call to make. If the foul is like in the middle of the field or far away and they make a call and I'm the AR1 and one of the coaches asks me, hey, did you think that's a foul? My answer is going to be, the center referee's much closer. Looks like they called it a foul. Or if I'm AR2 and a parent asks me, what was that for? What was that call? I'm be like, I'm not sure. Center referee was closer and had a different view of it. That's going to be my answer, even if I completely disagree with the call. That's right. And that's a fact. Okay. So this is another one that I think is so interesting. No referee goes out there wanting to call penalty kicks. None. No one wants the game to come down to my penalty kick decision as a referee. I'd rather the teams in the field determine the outcome without my assistance in that. That's the truth. Do I need to call a penalty kick if there's a clear and obvious direct free kick offense that happens in the penalty area? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to call it because that's my job, but I don't want to have to call it. I don't. I want the teams on the field to determine the outcome. Okay. This one is another one. Okay. Some people are like, it's a foul wherever it happens on the field. That's not true. A foul, or my bar for what is a foul, changes depending on where on the field I am and who is attacking and who is defending. And that's a freaking truth. It is a hard truth. If you ever do a pregame with an experienced referee, they will tell the assistant referees, hey, if it's coming out, raise your flag quick, let's call it. If it's going in, take your time. There might be an advantage, especially in the penalty area. I want you looking at me and listening to me, and I'm going to verbalize, is it a penalty, is it not? Listen, the bar raises when you get into the penalty area or it's an attacking free kick. I just talked about not wanting to determine the outcome of the match as the referee. We want the players to decide it. So yes, we give more leniency to the defending team when they've got possession and they're trying to dribble out and they're fouled, quote unquote, fouled, a careless foul. We're quicker on a whistle there than if it's right outside of the penalty area or indeed in the penalty area. It's got to be a pretty clear foul for us to recognize, maybe not for the rest of the world to see, but the spectators and the coaches and the players. But we've got to be sure, absolutely, it is a foul. I'm talking about on the defending half, someone gives a bump in the back and they bump them a little bit off the ball, whatnot. Okay, we're going to call a foul. It's coming out. No problem. Low risk. But if it's in the penalty area, someone gives someone a little bit of a bump in the back, and same type of contact, and they stay on their feet, just like they stayed on their feet in their defending half. If it's in the attacking half, we're not calling it a penalty kick. It's true. It's a different level of contact. There's a different bar that has to be met the closer the foul is towards the attacking goal. And that is a hard truth. This one, hard truth here. I like working with some referees more than others. It's true. It's true. I love all referees. As a referee, I love you. You put on the jersey. I appreciate you. But there are some that I like working with more than others. There are some referees that I have worked with who don't call a lot of fouls. Okay? And they just, I'm going to let them play and let them figure it out, and then try and figure out when I'm going to call a foul. And usually what happens is the game gets out of hand, everyone starts yelling and screaming, and then they start calling fouls, and it's way too late, and everyone's frustrated, and everyone's angry, and it's just a bad experience. And somehow, at the end of it, they're like, I don't know what went wrong. You didn't call fouls. You didn't call fouls. Okay, it's painful. If I'm an assistant referee and I'm working with a center referee who does not call fouls, and their bar for what a foul is like outrageously high, like someone has got to be literally like taken down with a baseball bat before they're willing to call even a basic foul, it's going to be a brutal day. It really is. It really is. Yes, there are some referees I like working with more than others. There are some referees who have never played the game of soccer. Okay, they just haven't. They're refereeing. I don't know how they got into soccer refereeing, but it's pretty obvious they've never played the game. And their foul recognition is really odd, to say the least, where it should be an attacking foul and they wind up giving it to the defending team, or it should be a defending team foul, they wind up giving it to the attacking team, just because they really don't understand what's going on out there. That can be painful. Okay, next hard truth. It is harder to referee lower level recreational games than it is upper level academy games. That's right. Recreational games can be harder than MLS Next and ECNL because they're all bunched up. It's clumsy. You don't know where the ball's going. They maybe don't know the laws of the game very well. The parents are not as well experienced with the laws of the game as well. And so it can be harder to do a U10 recreational or U10 academy game, U10 or U12 academy game than it is a U16 MLS Next academy game. Okay? Because MLS Next and ECNL, the play is going to be wider open. It's going to be faster. You're going to have switches. You're going to have balls played through on the ground, through balls. So the players understand the game. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be fast. It's going to be more open. Okay. When you're dealing at recreational level, sometimes it's a little more clumsy. The play is a little bit more bunched up. Again, the players may not know the laws of the game as well. Okay. And not just the players, the parents at low-level games, again, at U10. I honestly, from everything I've gathered out there, and I don't work many U10 matches, but what I've seen and what I've heard, U10 is like the worst. U10 Academy is so hard to referee. I'm telling you, it is a small-sided field. It can be pretty fast. It can be intense. The parents are paying $4,000 or $3,000 for their kid to play U10 Academy, and they're all fired up, and the kids think they're the next Messi, and it is a tight field. The ball's pinging around pretty quickly inside of this tight mess. They're missing most of their passes, so the skill level's not that high, but they think they're really high. The coaches are insane, thinking they're reffing the next World Cup or something like that, and as a referee, it's hard to judge. Is that just a careless 9-year-old falling over? Is that actually a foul? Is that a reckless challenge? I'm not sure. It's hard. I'm just saying, what people think, U17 or U18, MLS Next is the hardest. No, it's not. It's probably right in that kind of U10 Academy on small-sided field. Even, I would tell you, sometimes 12 Academy type games as well, if it's still small-sided U11 games. I think it gets easier as you start moving to 11v11 as things start spreading out. And then recreational 14 to 19, I think, is a piece of cake. A lot of fun to referee. But I'm telling you, man, some of those younger age groups can be the most challenging to referee by far. And again, parents also go along with that. A U10 parent or a U8 parent does not know the game very well, does not have a lot of experience, and is not used to physicality on the field because it's just not there at U6 or maybe even U8. But at U10, it starts getting a little bit more physical. Some kids start getting bigger and some kids are smaller and some kids are faster and all that kind of stuff. Parents can really freak out as well. This one's a great hard truth. Ready? Hard truth. I referee games where I'm going to get paid the most and have a short commute. Why should I not work games where I'm going to have the best ROI for my time spent? Okay. I don't just referee everywhere and anywhere. I ref where I've got a relatively short time commitment and where I'm going to get paid the most for my level of effort that I put out there. Okay. That is a thing. It's ROI. How much time am I spending? How much am I going to get paid? And yes, I do it because I love to be a referee, but I also like to get paid for my efforts too. So that makes a decision as to where I go. It's a thing. So if your league doesn't pay as well as another league, guess what? I am more likely to ref at that other league, as long as it's a safe environment and they have a good level of play. So I'm stimulated why I'm out there. That's the thing. Last one here. Last one. Working lower level games can be really boring, especially as an assistant referee. Once you've reffed a certain number of matches, you expect a higher level of play, and it's mentally stimulating and it's fun and exciting for you as a referee as well. If you have to work a U12 or U13 match at a lower level of play as an assistant referee, you might be standing still for 5 minutes at a time. It could be really slow, and it can be hard. If you're out there for an hour and you're just standing there with your flag in your hand and you make only one offside call in a game or something, if there is one. Sometimes I've seen these lower level teams, they'll play like a sweeper, like all the way back, keeping everyone on side the entire time, and you're not moving very much because they've got that person dropped really deep. It can be really boring. It is a thing. Not every time do we have the best time out there as a referee. It can be boring too. So I hope you guys enjoy some of those hard truths. It's not a rant. I'm just trying to share some of the things that the casual observer may not know about being a referee and what we deal with and what we struggle with and just the unknowns that parents or casual observers just don't know. All right. So now I'm going to move to the mailbag. This is a long letter, but it's an outrageously great written letter that I want to share with you here on the show. This is going to be from Chris, and Chris comes from the Greene County Soccer Association. He wrote this letter to everyone all the parents in the Greene County Soccer Association, and so I want to share it with you because I know you will appreciate it. He writes, "For those of you who have not met me, I'm Chris Buehler. I'm the current league scheduler for the Greene County Soccer Association. I am also a longtime referee and mentor, which is why I'm sending this message to as many people in our league as possible. There is an issue that we need to overcome. So before going any further, let me say thank you for taking a few moments to read this message. Now on with the show. This past Tuesday, I was made aware of an incident that occurred during a game 2 days earlier. Unfortunately, there was another incident on Tuesday which prompted the mother of a young referee to call me. The incident was not isolated to the pitch, but it spilled over into, quote, real life, unquote. On May 12th, yes, that was Mother's Day, but the teams from another league wanted to play. Two teams met on the pitch for what should have been a competitive but uneventful match. The center of the match was a young 17, maybe 18-year-old who has been getting a lot of experience in the center of the season. The assistant referee, AR2, on the visitor side is a new referee and still learning the ropes. On the home side, the assistant referee, AR1, has been doing a lot of sideline work, and he is getting more experience and more confidence with each game. For us, we will focus on the home side AR, the AR1, and the home team's coach. For the match itself, I've heard nothing that would indicate that it was a poorly called game or that there was some unfair business by the referees. Nor have I heard that there were any overly physical fouls by any of the players. Instead, what I have heard is that the home coach had obviously forgotten to read Law 5 of the laws of the game that states the decision of the quote, the decision of the referee and all other match officials must be respected at all times, unquote. Rather, he decided to question AR1 about, in parentheses, almost, parentheses, every decision. To make a long story short, and quite honestly, this is rather humorous to me, AR1 is still learning about what an assistant referee can and cannot do, which includes showing cards. During the match, AR1 finally got tired of the head coach berating him, so AR1 decided he was going to show the head coach a yellow card. This did not stop the coach, and AR1 proceeded to pull out his red card. After the center referee came over and talked with AR1, the coach was allowed to stay. A parenthesis here. Quite honestly, even though he isn't allowed to show cards, I'm proud of AR1 for standing up to the coach. Close parentheses. In a nutshell, that was the game and the home team lost. This incident, though, is not the reason I am concerned. I have no doubt you can't wait to hear, so allow me to elaborate. As I said earlier, this past Tuesday, I received a phone call. The story goes as the mother says. Her son, the AR1, had just been suspended from school. The reason for this is because there was a kid who started to berate the AR1 for his performance during the game and was doing this at school 2 days after the game. In the end, there was an altercation, which resulted in a suspension. Let's just say the AR1 was like a cat that has been backed into a corner. He got pushed too far and decided to take care of the situation. Now, I'm going to stop right there in the letter, and I'll continue in a second. Obviously, I'm emotional. I get emotional. We're dealing with kids and young referees. But why do you think that young referee was being berated during the match or at school? I'm sorry. Why was the young referee being berated? Do you think he could have learned that behavior from the adult at the pitch, the coach? If the coach had shown respect all game for that young referee, do you think that young referee would have gotten that verbal abuse at school? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now to continue. You might be asking yourself, why do I care about this? The truth is, you probably don't. However, you probably never thought about it because you either haven't been a part of a situation like this or you haven't been on the receiving end of referee abuse. The problem that I am discussing is much bigger than this one incident. It is about the behavior of coaches and parents and players towards referees. It is time that we stop referee abuse, whether it is verbal or physical. Granted, the vast majority is verbal, but it is still referee abuse. And referees are quitting because things go too far and get into, quote, real life, unquote. That is the case here. Fortunately, I think I will be able to convince AR1 to continue, and I hope he does, as I believe he can be a great referee in the upcoming seasons. When I first started refereeing in 1991, I had one major incident with a parent on the sidelines during my first few years. After taking a hiatus for some time, when I came back to refereeing, something that I had loved, it was a completely different world regarding how much abuse referees were having to endure, both physical and verbal. At one point, I was the president of a soccer club, and I saw this abuse happening, and I had to suspend some coaches, ban a visiting coach, raise referee pay rates to encourage people to continue refereeing, and just go on a crusade to get people to stop the idiocy. Over the past few years, the number of officials in youth sports has declined so much that only a couple of years ago, it was considered a crisis. A couple of years ago. All the studies that have been performed on this issue indicate that the primary reason for this downward trend is the behavior of coaches, parents, and players towards the officials. What is happening in essence is that the coaches and parents are teaching players that it's okay to disrespect officials. What is also happening is that the more experienced referees are teaching younger referees, in parentheses, or less experienced referees, close parentheses, to just ignore it. But wait, there's more. League officials and club officials are not pulling in the reins of these bad behavior coaches, parents, and players. State committees are not helping local clubs nor officials with the issue. The result is that the coaches, parents, and players who disrespect referees are realizing zero consequences for their actions. In the end, this message is not about AR1 and his recent afflictions. It is about the trend that is happening, and any trend here that will ultimately kill not just youth soccer, but youth sports in general. I'm about to close, but before I do, let me ask you a couple questions. Would it be all right if I were to show up where you work and tell you all day how bad you are at your job? Can I go to one of your hobby events, something that you love to do, and tell you how ignorant and blind and how much of an idiot you are? My guess is the answer to both of those questions is a resounding no. We all have to realize and stress to each other that the officials, and I don't care what sport it is, are there because they love the sport to some extent and are there to make a little bit of money, especially the teenagers. In the end, every one of us must do better. Referees, stop telling other referees to just ignore it. Show them how to properly handle the situation to get it stopped. This tolerance by referees of bad behavior is a big part of the problem. Club administrators, stress to your parents, coaches, and players that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated. Have some consequences written down and enforce those consequences. League administrators, lay out some general rules and guidelines for real consequences to referee abuse with your league. State committees, and particularly the referee committee, show up at local clubs more often without an invitation for a special appearance. Let the local clubs and personnel know you are there for them. Coaches, teach the game of soccer and let your attitude and behavior teach respect for officials. Parents, and let me be blunt on this point, your sole purpose for being on the sideline is to cheer on your kid and the team. You might try congratulating the other team when they make a great play. You're not there to live out your dreams through your kid. Most likely, the 13-year-old in the middle of the field knows the rules a lot better than you do. Finally, it wouldn't hurt for you to learn the laws of the game and the local rules of competition. Players, just play the game. I promise you, the referee is doing the best that they can to keep you safe and make the game fair. And to everyone, I guarantee that the overwhelming majority of referees don't care which team wins. Their main concern is that the same number of players that start the game finish the game without any kind of injury. As I said in my opening, thank you for taking the time to read this. This is an issue that has been on my mind and heart for several years, but when a referee I have helped raise gets verbally assaulted over a U12 game or any age level, regardless of when and where it happened, it pushed me to the edge of sending this out. In the past, I've talked to the referee, coaches, and the local club to fix it on a small scale, but this has got to stop, period. And I close with this. Everyone wants the best referee. Unfortunately, no one wants to give the referee a chance to gain experience and become that referee. Referees get tired of listening to all the insults, and they quit before becoming that referee. When that happens, we all lose. If you all agree with what I have said, please share this with others in your organization. See you on the pitch. Chris Buehler. Chris, thank you so much for writing that note and for standing up for the referees in your area. We appreciate you, and we appreciate what they do. I hope you found value in today's podcast. Referee assault and abuse are not just things that happen in some land far away. It is all too real. This week it was in Chris' league. Next week it could be in one of us or someone you love. We must address this behavior before it happens. We have to report it to our local authorities, national governing bodies. We cannot just leave it up to local clubs to deal with. Please check out my social media clubs on Instagram, TikTok, website, and my merch at refsneedlove2.com. Father's Day is only a couple weeks away. If you like this podcast, please send it to everyone. I appreciate your support, and as always, I hope your next game is red card free.